Devlog 2. The shadows made me do it. Hi and welcome to another devlog for Architectum, a 2D building game focusing on historical architectural periods. In the previous entry, I described how I threw together a concept for my project to pitch to my professor, and over the roughly 4 weeks since I posted the video, a lot of exciting progress has been made. I built a super rough first 2-dimensional prototype as soon as I got the green light to proceed, and ran straight into my first big and idiotic problem. You see, I had initially planned Architectum to be a cozy 2D building game, embracing the art style that I'm most comfortable with. But there was one crucial detail I had totally overlooked: shadows. Shadows bring depth and structure to buildings, making them come alive. I added them to my concept without giving them much thought. And here's the thing: I am terrible at drawing shadows, even when everything is static and should be straightforward. But guess what? I had this brilliant idea of incorporating shadows into my modular system where players can stack elements freely, not knowing how they would interact with each other. And I knew enough of the 2D light system that I knew that adding shadows and having them look great would stay a problem for every element I added to the game. I needed to pivot to 3D to get this to work, didn't I? Well, do you also know this feeling of cursing at the software for not working like you want it to work, instead of learning how to adapt to its workflows? This bashing your head against a problem that wouldn't be there in the first place if you weren't stubborn as a donkey? This was me with every 3D software. So suddenly having the bright idea of trading the shadows headache for the 3D headache kinda worried me, honestly. But I know enough about 3D modeling that I think it could actually solve my problem, so I wanted to at least give this stupid idea an honest try before I was going to remove all the shadows from my game. So, armed with determination and a free weekend, I dove into learning 3D modeling. I can't recommend the complete Blender Creator course by GameDevTV on Udemy enough. It was a game changer for me, honestly. In just a few days, I gained enough competence to create the necessary 3D elements for Architectum. Sure, my models might be simple, but hey, everyone starts somewhere, right? With my newfound yet rough 3D skills, I transitioned the game's grid from 2D to 3D, thanks to an incredible tutorial by CodeMonkey. However, that was just the beginning. I needed to tackle the challenge of creating a system that allows players to customize their architectural elements. Columns, doors, windows, you name it. It took me nearly 2 weeks of trial and error to get this working on its own, and with the big building system as intended. The biggest hurdle was stacking elements with varying heights, like in tabulae. I experimented with stackable objects and ways to stack them on top of each other, until I found a solution that kinda worked. Well, it does, at least for now. Deleting rotated elements is still giving me a headache, but I'll figure it out. Once creating the composite building blocks was good enough, and the first level of a building could be created, I added multi-level support by basically just duplicating the building grid to where I want the next level to start. And next was a way to toggle repeating objects along the depth of the building's floor base. I like the effect, but honestly, I think the biggest issue I have with these is this depth really isn't part of the front of the building. Yet some buildings, like ancient Greek temples, had these columned spaces so people could walk around the building. It feels like it doesn't yet really fit, and I need to think on how to make it work a bit more. And finally, over the last couple of days, I created the tools which will make my life much easier going forward. Creating a new base object in which parts are being instantiated took me nearly 2 hours the first time I created a new one from scratch. But the next one still took about an hour, with so many different components to attach and fill with the relevant infos. Since that wouldn't be sustainable, I created a tool which would handle almost all of that for me, and for everything it wouldn't be able to handle on its own, I had it write me a checklist. Now, creating new main objects only takes about 5 seconds and 2 clicks, followed by a few steps from the list, of course. Seriously, I highly recommend adding tool building for streamlining your project's creation to your skill set. You can use it in just about every project you will ever touch again. After seeing the prototype version of it worked, it got some eye candy thanks to Odin Inspector, and now it's my trusty sidekick in the game development adventure. Other tools are much more simple. Something to quickly toggle specific objects, a button to delete all save files, something to set selected objects to a certain position and rotating them by the click of a button. Nothing fancy, just features I use a lot, and having a button instead of navigating or entering things manually makes working much more pleasant. Looking ahead, I have some crucial features on my to-do list. Saving the buildings is my top priority at the moment. I also have bug fixing and hopefully soon playtesting in mind to ensure a solid prototype. Oh, and ancient Rome with its iconic arches is next on the agenda. I can't wait to dive into that era. Plus, I want to implement an info system to tell players about the architectural periods and a recoloring feature for added customization. There is still plenty of work to be done, but I am thrilled with the progress so far. I hope you enjoyed this devlog. And before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the transition to 3D? And what's your favorite architectural period? I think mine's the Italian Renaissance and the Austrian branch of Art Nouveau. Thank you for watching. I hope I'll see you again in a few weeks.